Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology and creator of the Salesology prospecting method. And I am also known as the queen of cold calling. And today, my very special guest is Maxwell Nee. He is the Chief Revenue Officer at ScoreApp. And ScoreApp is a quiz marketing platform with 6,000 paying clients. Max is also a multi-award-winning entrepreneur. He is a bodybuilder and a dancer. He's been featured in TV, radio, Forbes, Singapore's The Business Times, and the Australian Business Review. So welcome, Max.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for having me.
I am delighted that you are here. And let's get going and begin at the beginning where we always begin. And that is, how did you become the Chief Revenue Officer at ScoreApp? What's the backstory?
Yeah, good question. So I had a business coaching business, helping people with sales and online marketing, and helping people to get to their first 10, 20, and even some of them got to their first 50K months. And we went from zero to about $2 million a year in that business in under 2 years. And a lot of people ask me how I did that. Really simple. A lot of sales calls, and even more leads. One of the key tools that we use to generate that many leads, we needed about 2,000 per month, was ScoreApp. So back then, ScoreApp was very, very new to the market. It was just born. I invested as an angel investor, and then, was a strategic partner for a few years, and now I've come on the team as the Chief Revenue Officer.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you some more questions about ScoreApp and what it is and how it works. But first, I have to look at something that was in your bio and ask you, because you may not know this, Max, but regular listeners of this podcast probably do know that my first career was I danced in a ballet company. And so I have to ask you, what kind of dance and what did you learn from being a dancer that translated into your business and sales life?
Wow. Big question. I love it. So I did hip hop dancing. So I did competitive and some shows, hip hop dancing. I never got to be a teacher, but was a part of a lot of teams and crews as the more senior person. What have I translated from that into? I think there is a obsessiveness that comes in, when you get to the level of dancing where you're performing for people, and it's a lot of responsibility, right? Like there's the show must go on type of thing that happens, which is very true. And to get to that point, you need to be obsessed, So I think I definitely have that obsessive gene where I'll get really, really narrow focus on a goal or an outcome, whether it's, perform on that stage for that 90 seconds, or it's, build this business and get it to 1 million type of thing. So I think that I've definitely carried that into my different ventures ever since dancing.
Okay, well, I do agree. I believe everything I know in life and business I learned in ballet class, and I think you are 100% correct that it really teaches you to focus and work towards that goal. You just keep moving forward, because at a certain point that curtain is coming up and you better dance.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to get it done, so it's a bit like the car is in drive, and there's no reverse, no brake, you're just moving forward type of thing.
Exactly. So, yeah, so always lovely to meet a fellow dancer. And so now tell us a little bit about ScoreApp. What is ScoreApp?
Yeah, so it's an online tool. It's quite cheap. It's not one of those expensive things. There's a free version, $50 a month, $100, that type of thing. And it's a tool that helps you to generate leads. So it's a conversion tool, so it converts traffic, whether it's traffic from a podcast, traffic from a video, traffic from a social media profile, a WhatsApp group, ads, website, emails, converts that into highly qualified, data rich leads. So the way it does that is that it's an online assessment tool where you might have, find out how effective your sales cycle is based on the salesology scorecard or the salesology methodology. And then someone will take it, they'll get a rating. It might be a number scale, might be different buckets. And then, you as the business get that data rich lead, and the lead gets a personalized report based on their score automatically.
All right. So let's take a step back. What is your definition of the word lead? Because
Yeah.
I think it means different things to different people. So what does it mean to you?
Yeah, good question. So for me, a lead is someone that's put their hand up and they've said, "Hey, Wendy, here's my contact information. You have my permission to contact me. I'm interested to potentially buy what you have to sell." So it's two things. It's contact information and it's also a registration of interest.
Okay. Does your definition include any qualifiers? Because just because someone has given you their contact information and they raise their hand doesn't necessarily mean they have the capacity to purchase or that they're even necessarily a fit for what you do.
Yeah, really good question. So ScoreApp does that, because you're getting someone to fill out a form to receive a personalized report. That whole form is designed to qualify your potential clients. So I'll give you an example. A really typical use case for ScoreApp is, say, someone that is selling something quite expensive. They could be selling houses, they could be selling loans, and then the tool will take them through a question process saying, okay, find out how much you could borrow to buy your dream house right now. And it'll ask them all the questions based on how much income they earn and where they're at and if they're ready to buy or not. And then it'll pull that out of them, plus give them a personalized report so they get some value. But then, the business knows exactly who's cold, warm, or hot as to, whether or not they're ready to move now.
Okay. So if someone is filling out the form and let's say they're really not qualified to buy that home or they don't have the financial resources, that will show the business owner on their report, and the business owner will know to leave that lead alone. It's not really a lead, but rather to pursue another one that fits the right parameters. Am I following what you're saying?
Yeah, that's correct. So, what we recommend in that instance is you don't just not contact those people, but you might put them into a different container. The container might be the free value container. So it works really well for someone who has an email list, like a Facebook group or WhatsApp group, just something to keep them connected to you, even though they're not ready to buy now.
Okay. So do you help clients? I mean, it's great to have this mechanism that generates qualified leads and gives you all this data, but you have to get the traffic to the quiz in order to do that. So is that part of your process as well? Or what are ways that people can then drive that traffic so they can use the quiz so they can get the good qualified leads.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, when you become a client, we have a whole bunch of different toolkits that we give out. So there's a few resources. One of them is the lead gen toolkit. So it's about 7 ways to drive traffic to your scorecard. And then we also have a partnerships portal. So a lot of our clients are and advertisers, professional marketers, podcasters, LinkedIn content masters, and educators, and we have almost like a mini Upwork for clients to come in and activate whatever source of traffic they're ready for.
Okay. So I was reading, I believe it was on your LinkedIn profile, something that you had posted, that lead generation should be a business owner's number one priority. And could you expound on that a little bit? Why?
Yeah. So, if you think about the lifeblood of a business is cash, right? Like if cash isn't coming in, there's limited oxygen in the business. Cash is oxygen to a business for it to keep doing what it's doing 10 years from now. And if you work it backwards, there's cash that needs to come in. Before that, there's a sale that needs to happen. Before sale happens, so there needs to be a lead, right? And if you think about it in terms of really simple numbers, you might need 10 leads to come in before you get one sale, right? So like a 10% conversion rate. So as long as you have batches and batches and batches of 10 leads come in, then you'll have batches and batches of clients come in and cash to keep growing your business.
Okay. And so what are some of the other ways, other than a quiz, that companies, businesses can generate leads? And why do you think that quizzes work better than, say, a lead magnet or LinkedIn or picking up the phone and calling prospects?
Yeah, so all those strategies are good, right? Now, where quizzes perform the best is they help you to A, qualify leads, and B, increase your conversion rate. So it is a lead magnet. So a typical lead magnet converts at about 10 to 15%. Our quiz funnels, once they're set up, typically convert at about 20 to 40%. So that's a big uplift in potential interested clients that you have also qualified, right? So there'll be a lot of those that are unqualified. So you're hitting two birds with one stone. You're getting more people in and qualifying all of them. So in terms of picking up the call, I'm a huge fan of picking up the phone and just calling someone. I'm a huge fan of bringing my business to other people instead of waiting for them to come and find my business. I love it. But that's very time consuming. So you want to do this or some form of this in tandem, so you want to be going out to people, and you also want a way for people to get something when they come to you.
So are you saying that the quizzes convert 20 to 40% into sales, or are you saying that 20 to 40% of them are highly qualified leads that you really want to be following up on?
It converts cold traffic 20 to 40% into leads instead of 10 to 15% into leads. Yeah.
Got it. So then if you've got however many qualified leads you get, then whatever your conversion rate is, lead into sale, is the next step.
Okay.
Yeah. Got it. So we're going to pause now for a word from our sponsor. But when we come back, I want to hold Max's feet to the fire. I want to ask him about some do's and don'ts for lead generation, and also some success stories, some before and afters. But now we're going to have a word from our sponsor, the Salesology Vault. And just about every guest that I have interviewed on the Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders podcast has had a free gift for our listeners. And that includes my special guest today, Maxwell Nee, who is the Chief Revenue Officer of ScoreApp. And so what we have done is we have taken all of those gifts and we put them together all in one place just for you. We call it the Salesology Vault, and it's packed full of free gifts from sales leaders, sales experts, marketing gurus, revenue generation experts, and we add another gift every single week. Every Monday, we release a podcast, and when we do, we add a gift. So you can log in as often as you'd like. You can download as many gifts as you'd like. It's all free. The link to the Salesology Vault is in the show notes. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on the link. You will be glad that you did. And we are back with my special guest, Maxwell Nee. He is the Chief Revenue Officer of ScoreApp, and we are talking all things lead generation. So welcome back, Max.
Yes, thank you for having me, Wendy.
Yeah. So let's talk about some do's and don'ts. I asked you at the beginning of this interview your definition of the word lead, because what I see as someone who works with a lot of different business owners, different types of businesses, it's often unclear what a lead really is. And just because somebody opened one of your emails, that doesn't make that person a great lead. So could you share with us, your thinking about the do's and don'ts of making sure that the leads that a business is following up with are really good, qualified leads?
Well, ideally, you want a reason to contact someone. That makes the contact so much more powerful, even if it's a cold call. But if there's a reason for the cold call, like why now? Did you find my name on LinkedIn? Did you find my business card in the back pocket of your pants from 4 months ago? When you have that warm connection of the why, it just makes the experience so much more engaging, powerful, thoughtful, and this person really cares about me, type of thing. So I think there's a lot of do's in manufacturing that experience for someone. So a scorecard, a quiz is a perfect way to if someone's filled that out, they've A, signaled that they're interested in something, and B, they've done it when they've done it. So they've done it recently. So a really typical phone call could go something like, "Hey, Mr. Customer, I just saw that you filled out our scorecard and you scored 7 out of 10 in terms of where you'd like to be. How would you like to hear 3 things to help you get to 10 out of 10, by the end of the year?" So that's a personalized, engaged, relevant conversation, and a good reason to call someone. So you're calling to give them something instead of calling to push them through a sales process. Of course, it is a sales process, but it's a solicited, right, sales process type of thing. So that's definitely a do. I wouldn't say there's any don'ts. I would just say that depending on what type of business you have, you could that there's things that are going to work more effectively, less effectively. Obviously, if your product is a lower ticket product, like let's say $1,000 or less, or $500 or less, it's pretty hard to justify calling someone to try to bring in a $500 sale, right? Compared to then you might want to consider emailing them, for that type of thing. So there's just different ways to cut and slice it, but the underlining lever to pull is that no one wants a less personalized experience. No one wants to be more commoditized. No one wants to be considered just a number. No one wants to see irrelevant things on their Amazon homepage. They want to see more and more relevant things. You and I, Wendy, we might have signed up to Amazon.com at the same time, but we're going to see completely different things because you've got your personal preferences and I've got mine, and that was by design. So this is about bringing that to people.
Okay. And I do want to ask you, taking a step back, because what I see so often is businesses that don't have that really clear definition of what lead means. So if you don't have that really clear definition of who you're looking for, what are the parameters that make a great lead for you in your business with your offering? It's going to be really hard to do any of the things that you just talked about. Would you agree with me, or you argue with me?
Yeah, I think that, if you take away the romance of having your own business, it's unfortunately as simple as a numbers game. And the first number at the top that you need to have a lot of is leads. The next one is sales calls, and the third one's clients, right? So it's about recognizing what those numbers need to be and then going out there and generating those numbers.
Okay. So can you share with us some success stories, some kind of before and after lead generation stories?
Yeah, we definitely have a few really amazing ones. One of them is a branding coach. Personal branding, like website branding, is a notoriously, it's an intangible service, right? Like branding, like how do you rate someone's branding? It's a little bit subjective. Like there's my opinion, there's your opinion. It's a bit of an art, much more of an art than it is a science sometimes. And we had a client that's put their branding expertise into a scorecard and sent it out to their clients, and potential clients have posted it on LinkedIn, and they gave a tangible way to measure someone's brand, and in return they generated 800 leads for the first time ever, compared to just going out there saying, "Hey, look, I'm selling personal branding for $2,000 a website," type of thing. So that's one. Another very typical one is in the personal training space. So one that most people would have seen is find out what body type you are, and what exercise and nutrition you should be focusing on to get the best results for you and your body type. That's a really good one. And another one that almost everyone's done is the very common personality quiz, right? So find out what your personality is, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, so that you can keep that in mind when you're going to achieve your goals.
And what were some of the results that clients got from using these? Because you referenced the first one where they got 800 leads, which is kind of amazing. And what were the results of these other two quizzes that you mentioned?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. So there was a gym that had a body type analysis tool, which was their own version of the quiz. And they were based in the city that I'm from in Australia. And a typical gym of this size would make about $2 million a year. But this gym in particular was making $8 million a year, just from using that tool, because they were able to really, really pinpoint what people are looking for. Because people often can't articulate what they're looking for or what's missing or whatever else. But they were able to use an objective tool to get that result and then say, "Hey, look, are you ready to make a change about this?" And pretty much every time that the answer was yes, right? The personality quiz. There's a few entrepreneurs that have translated this into like, what type of entrepreneur are you? And then they're a business coach, right? So it's what type of entrepreneur are you? And they're a business coach. I know business coaches that generate 17,000 leads a month, just by having that type of hook in and value added lead magnet.
Well, those are certainly very impressive numbers. So,
Yeah.
So I know, Max. Now you have a gift for our listeners. So please, tell us about your gift.
Yeah, so we have a book. It's called Scorecard Marketing. So it goes deeper into this type of marketing, how it works, why it works. And if you register using the link that Wendy shares with you, then we'll get a digital copy out to you.
Okay, wonderful. And so as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, we're putting that link in the show notes. So get Max's book, go to the show notes, click on the link. And also, Max, if people want to connect with you, people want to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, good question. So I am addicted to LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is definitely the best place to get me. Maxwell Nee, I'm pretty much the only one on there with that name. So if you jump on there and connect with me, I'll see it and we can get chatting.
Okay. And if for some reason you didn't catch Max's name and weren't able to jot it down, it's okay, because we're going to put Maxwell Nee's LinkedIn profile link in the show notes. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast and you want to connect with Max, go to the show notes, click on the link, connect with Max. And you can also check out ScoreApp at ScoreApp.com, and we will also put that in the show notes. So thank you, Max, for being here today. This has been so interesting about this a very unique way to generate leads. It's very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And so to our listeners, you've been listening to Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders with my very special guest, Maxwell Nee, who is the Chief Revenue Officer at ScoreApp. And if you found value in listening to this podcast today, then please think about one sales leader, one business owner, one entrepreneur, somebody that you know that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast. And please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.